So before you could start getting to work on your own greatest work, they've been already doing their greatest work at making sure that you don't get a chance to that. So it's in my humble opinion that they have already began working on destroying me on a soul level and making sure to deaden my natural human spirit and to deaden my natural human abilities. And simply, I just feel like many other like-minded individuals feel, and that's that I want my damn life back. Before they started working on their criminal operation to continuously destroy me up on a soul level, and hopefully get me into trouble where I personally feel as though it is irreversible, and I also act in a manner to destroy myself. That's where they want to push you, and honestly, that's where it has gotten me before. So through the financial destruction of family, destruction of my community or any kind of support that I could have, it being smear campaigned and bribed or whatever, all the actual destruction does is take place in your personal life to the point where it actually seizes your abilities to be able to reason, to be able to comprehend what's going on, so on and so forth. And with the help of arsenic, I don't think that that's too far-fetched from being able to achieve. So I'm just trying to get people to help me in understanding what we're actually up against spiritually and how deadened people are becoming spiritually. It's just going to take a monumental effort to try and mentally and spiritually reform these people back into great health, and that includes me. But that's what the great work is here. I'm not saying any of this to depress anyone about it. I'm honestly saying these things so that it sets a fire up underneath you and gives you a reason to be fired up about a real reason that's going on in the world that people just don't want to see. So we have to understand what the task is at hand in order to change it. And this duress and the condition that we have been up against in today's society, and that just most people, even in our family circumstances, are just unaware of it, or maybe they just want to deflect as well. But they feel as though that this stuff doesn't affect them, and rather wanting nothing to do with this kind of work. It actually does affect them. It affects them wholeheartedly. It affects them in the communities. It affects them in their lives in ways that they can't even see, because we couldn't even tell you to see, because even if we had the power to change those kinds of things, and say we had, it creates a domino rally effect of goodness, not a domino rally effect of evil in people's lives. So even though some people know what we're up against, they don't want to get involved for the fear of retaliation coming from their own corrupt government system, or the things that are happening and said to be happening to them. They don't want it to start happening to them as well. So people mainly just minimize the situation. Let's go look over here. Let's not look at this stuff anymore. But we have to know and get definitively honest and accurate, or we're not going to get this job done. And these are the so-called monetized, or these are the so-called modernized house slaves. The house slaves are the police. The house slaves are the military. The house slaves are the people in position in powerful places to continue the modern day era of slavery and the evil war period that we see tragically going on, as if we're as violent and immoral and complicitly going along with everything that they want for us, and it's utterly wrong. It's utterly garbage. Anyone that sides with that kind of slave-minded mentality is just practicing that slavery to be performed in this country. And you're taking a job, you're stripping your minds and tongues of what Jesus actually spoke on. And then you have to understand that the places that these people go into, to go into their native lands, and because they're given a little more privilege than if they were given a little bit more privilege, then they would be whipped and beat and kept the other slaves in order to keep others in line as well. So it'd be like slaves who would be like, don't do that, don't do that, we don't want to get out of line. We don't want to get out of line. I don't want to get whipped. You might want to get whipped, but I don't want to get whipped. So we're often tribal members of parts of our own families who tried to keep us in a line, who couldn't keep us in a line. Because, look, I'm not going to remain a fucking slave and remain okay with the slave type master's demands, and especially when it's coming from these non-compliant areas of life that, oh, we're just supposed to listen to our slave owners' demands and move about our lives how these slave owners want to create these predecessors around us to definitely come in and instigate harm upon our lives. So they were willing to do these things to their own people for a little bit of extra food or a warm blanket. They would be willing to sell their own out just so they could have a place to sleep. Or be able to sleep out in the elements of a crop field. They weren't able to sleep in the doghouse or in the crop field instead. Or they were able to sleep in the doghouse or the crop field instead. They weren't able to sleep anywhere like with a warm blanket, get some extra food. No, they had to be out in the elements. That's what slavery was. It was initializing that you were out there toiling and they don't really care about you. And they wanted you to know that they don't care about you, so much so as you don't get good sleep, you don't get good food. And this is the kind of stuff that happened literally in our past. So people want to placate and placate on me as if this stuff isn't possible. Oh, okay. So what you see is some of them holding guns while others are in chains. I mean, this is the special kind of psychopathic behavior you're gonna see, and it's the special kind of immoral human being that thinks to themselves, well, I'm doing something to try and end the condition of human slavery. Instead, we're supposed to be told to look up to these masters, look up to the way these house slaves want to treat us throughout the world, and through this modernized day of police forcing. And now it's just letting people be, as long as they're criminals, as long as they're working on the hands of the elite against the people like you and me. They're complicit with it completely. They work on the same playing field. This is what the police do, and this is what they operate under. It's the color of law, not the law that was given to us singularly from the Bible, but they work on the color of law. They write up law, and it's just to keep the slaves in line, while they're also just outright slaves themselves. Slave masters is what you would call them. People, house slaves, slave masters. This is also what the military members are, and it's all over this country and in every other country in the world. It's not just happening here in America. It's the kind of duress that people are under in every other country as well. That's what this cult is ultimately evil, designed to act as, and keep humanity under a perpetual state of duress. They are slaves themselves, conducting slavery upon other slaves that don't even want to be free themselves. They get paid enough money, they're okay with whatever they're getting, and there's no kind of specialty for their own minds, for where they can take their lives instead. So for these kinds of people that are just okay with that and riddling people out of themselves down to the soul level, just removing people from their spiritual selves and their religious selves. I don't care if you believe in hell or not, but I believe there's a special place for you house slaves in a place called hell. I don't even care if people believe in the Lord or not. There's a special place of torment, locked in a state of mind of people who perform jobs like that. So let's just talk, so we could talk about the conscience here, but let's talk about moral culpability. What it takes to be moral culpable. The order follower always bears more moral culpability than the order giver, because the order follower is the one who is actually performing the action. And in action, such action that brought the result to harm the physical manifestation, order following is the pathway to every form of evil and chaos in our world today. Order following. It's people that are just willing to order follow, take whatever dollar sign they're given, and run with it. And that's what the whole world is designed to do. It's not designed to go outside of the perspectives that we see today, because those constructs are there saying that this is the only way that is, and there isn't any other way. And anyone that wants to think any other way, well, we gotta attack them at every possible corner that we can. We can't let the power of the tongue and the Lord and the things that the Lord were saying to be true. No, we have no moral culpability at all, is what they're saying. So, Order followers have ultimately been personally responsible and morally culpable for every form of slavery and every single totalitarian regime that has ever existed upon the face of the earth today, following orders. The order follower has been more culpable than the order giver, because the order follower is the one who performs that behavior, as I've said. It's in taking that action actually that brought about the result to harm, the physical manifestation of the harm that it brought. They want to make claims as such that they aren't responsible for these things, or they are just doing their job, while order following is the pathway to every form of evil and chaos in our world. It should never be seen as a virtuous job or a virtuous ability by anyone to consider themselves of a moral human being that serves to have a moral compass within them at all. Order following and order followers have ultimately been personally responsible and morally culpable for that totalitarian regime that we're experiencing and existing in the face of our earth today. It's in the face of every man, woman, and child out here. Slavery. If you did it, you are ultimately responsible for it, not who told you to do it. So you can get as offended as you like about this, but for those of you who are hearing this out here, nothing will make that statement any less untrue than it is. If you did it, you are ultimately responsible, not whoever told you to do it. But you are responsible. The reason that I was told to perform this immoral behavior by someone else is not that it can be recognized with any excuse at all. It shouldn't be recognized or accepted as an excuse by anyone with the conscience ever, or at all, because these are immoral behaviors. And you should all well know that people are just not going to have it in the end. They're not going to put up with it. They've simply had enough, and they are done with the lies. They are done with the deception. They are done with the betrayal that's taking place in their lives, and to the lives that infects around them, and has for years. All by complicitly going along with these erroneous evil beliefs. People want to go along with these erroneous beliefs, and yet it's ruining us. It's ruining our love. It's ruining us as a whole humanity. And people that want to complicitly walk by in these evil thought-out beliefs, go ahead and think them to and through. Contrary to disinformation and widely held but erroneous belief as human beings, we do not possess the right to believe that whatever we want to believe. We don't have that right. We possess the right to believe whatever we want to believe, even if those beliefs are wildly out of touch with reality. Only and only if those beliefs do not condone violence or acts against hurting another or support the kind of slavery of other human beings or putting them into that state of duress. Now, I'm going to fight against the statement that's been widely known as a fact today, and that people have the right to believe whatever the hell they want to believe. I'm not going to tell people that they don't have the right to believe what they have the right to believe on anything they want. You can believe that purple dinosaurs are going to come out of the sky and attack us in 12 minutes. If you really believe that, believe it. Believe it with all of your heart. Believe whatever you wish. You have the right to believe in this way. Simply, people are mistaking that belief as though you do not have the right to believe in how you do though. They want to believe how well they believe, and however well they want to believe in their satanic ass immoral crap, but that they don't want to allow you to your own beliefs. So much so that they're afraid of the tongue actually being able to change things in the world, because Jesus is powerful. And so they need to smash Jesus out of the world, and that's what they're trying to do. They do not have the rights to think that they have the right to do this, however. Let me further explain the difference between a thought and a belief. First of all, anyone can think anything that they want, which means for a long time you're holding something in your mind to consider it. This is a thought. And no, I'm not suggesting that we come up with thought police here, because that's honest to God what they're trying to do. What I'm saying is that since we have the capacity to reason through our thoughts, that when you come to a complete erroneous and incorrect conclusion by using those thoughts, then those thoughts become hardened and compressed, and those thoughts become into a belief structure. And when they cross the pattern or line from being a thought into that of becoming a belief system, that's when they become a belief. So what I'm saying and writing on is that not every belief system is right. Thoughts are right, but we do not have the right to, in perpetuity, continuously believe erroneously that certain things which go against nature, that are wrong and immoral, that they have the right to continue to possess, right to do. Contrary to popular belief, disinformation, and widely held but erroneous belief as human beings have, we do not possess the right to believe in whatever we want to believe. We don't. To believe government is legitimate is to believe slavery is legitimate. I don't believe that people have the right to believe that government is a form of legitimacy when it's acting out in the ways that it is. Mind you, it's set up specifically to control people, control your mind, not actually allow you to any freedom. So, slavery is stealing away 100% of the product of someone's labor, and slavery is what percentage is where we're at. It's like, how is this not slavery when every day people go to work? You're basically just running the totem pole. You're not getting anywhere. And then with their multiplications tables that could be completely messed up, which I think that they are, tells me that compounding interest alone throughout all of the length of our time would have definitely turned our lives around. They couldn't have pushed for that though, because it's the fact that if we were given a proper system with the natural rights and our natural laws, well, we just might have gotten somewhere with if we had. And I don't think they could have handled that. So I believe that people have the right to believe whatever they want, as so long as it doesn't infringe on somebody else's rights, doesn't infringe on somebody else's body, or where they're trying to put their own mental energy into. So I have a huge moral problem with people that think that somebody else can be somebody else's property and just be used in that kind of fashion. No one has the right to believe that people are property. Nobody. And that is what these people do. They believe that you are property, you step on a line, and you try to right the wrongs, so to speak. And no one has the right to believe that you belong to anyone else but yourselves. Or even if they continue that thought in perpetuity, or a continued state of thought, it's a wrong thought. And there's no right that they have that. There's no right that they actually have to that thought, as according to natural law. So people have to understand this stuff. We can condone to the notion of slavery by thinking about it, but we have to come to the correct moral conclusion here, that it is immoral and it is wrong, and that nobody should be able to be practiced upon, and that nobody should be immediately having to be ended for trying to escape and trying to break free. The belief is that it's okay to perpetuate this kind of wrong, and it's wrong all the way down to follow the money. It's wrong all the way down to follow the money. It's wrong. Because you're not going to condone to the belief that it's okay to perpetuate this kind of act of slavery on people, and just act like they're somebody else's property, and oh, they're trying to get away, they're trying to get free, oh no, what do we gotta do? We gotta set up relationships, we gotta smear campaign them, we gotta attack them with false flag events, we gotta shoot Trump, you know, we gotta do things to make sure that, oh, people are looking over here, look at all of this over here, create a problem, create a problem, create a problem, make sure they're not looking at this problem, make sure that they're not looking at that problem, but make sure that everyone's erroneously tied up in their own lives to be able to not be able to help. They're constricted, and then nothing gets done. Everyone's plans go to the wayside. And you know what? The saddest factor of the matter is that some of these dreamers' dreams could have fixed all of your dreams. Or at least fixed the way you perceived your own ability to those dreams. Plain and simply put, no one has the right to believe that slavery is legitimate for anyone. Would people in the southern colonies have the capacity to continue to believe that they had the right to practice slavery over blacks in this country? That wasn't the right. Even if they had never owned slaves themselves, they didn't have the right to believe that they had the right to keep people as slaves. And now we're learning or now there's things coming out about where it wasn't even black people that were slaves, and that because they legitimately like flipped around things in this country, they turned around the black and white paradigm there, and they're actually finding pictures where whites were the actual slaves to the blacks. So I don't know, people, I sincerely think that people don't know what to believe when it comes to things, and that the truth is erroneously being eradicated from the world.